Welcome back to another video, guys. This is the Friendly Neighborhood Reviewer, and this is going to be our spoiler talk on Marvel's Thunderbolts. Welcome back, everyone. I appreciate everyone checking out my spoiler-free video. It was a fun video to be able to process and put together on my channel, and now we're going to be going into spoiler talk. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, I would suggest go check out the movie. Most definitely go see it in the biggest screen possible. Come back to this video. Well, actually go to my spoiler-free video so you can see what we discussed. How would you rank it on the MCU scale? And now I come back to the spoiler video so that you can always talk about spoilers with me. So let's just jump right into it, because I think that there's a lot to talk about with this movie, even though within itself it was kind of a smaller scale Marvel movie. And just to start it off with the actual title of the movie, I know it got revealed, I think yesterday. We're filming this on May 6th. On May 5th, it was finally revealed that the asterisk in the name is actually to be called The New Avengers. The movie's still going to be called Marvel's Thunderbolts, but in reality, it is The New Avengers. Now, I wonder how this complexity with the New Avengers and now with the actual Avengers is going to take place, because we know that Sam Wilson is the leader of the Avengers, and his whole task in Brave New World was to put together a team that is going to be the New Avengers from President Thunderbolt Ross. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with that team, who's going to be part of. We can discuss. Actually, we're in spoiler talk, so we could talk with what we're hearing along the lines of the leaks and everything else coming out for Doomsday and the team. But with that being said, you know, what is the dynamic going to be like? Are they going to be accepted? As we could see from the post-credit scene of the Thunderbolts, there's kind of this power dynamic that Sam Wilson isn't a big fan of. It actually looks like him and Bucky are at odds right now, and they're kind of clashing. And it seems like everything is kind of a mess right now with the whole entire formation of the Avengers and the New Avengers as well. So just to see how that dynamic is going to play out, it's going to be very, you know, cool, and it's also going to be very dynamic to see how the camaraderie of the teams, you know, meshing together and seeing how they're put together. It's going to be fun to see. Now, let's just talk post-credit scene most specifically, because I know that that's what everybody's been talking about, right? It's the ship that's coming in. Well, let's break it down, right? We go into the scene, right, and we see that it's the Avengers headquarters. It's back to being the tower. And we're seeing how it's the same team with the same people part of it. And the whole look of the whole entire scene is actually very different. Now, I know in the past couple of days it has come out that it's said that both the Russo brothers have actually filmed that scene, and it was actually directly filmed on the set of Doomsday. That's why the whole entire scene, when I saw the movie, and for anyone else that's seen the movie, it seems very different. The whole color palette is different. The whole dialogue and the dynamic of the team itself seems very different. It seems more pompous, a little bit more jokey, and it seemed a little bit more elevated, right? In the sense of that it had a lot more like comic bookness to it. Now, from there, we see how there's this dynamic that they don't know what to be called, how Sam is already upset with the team name, and then on top of that too, we're seeing how Alexi is trying to rename or rebrand the team to be the Avengers with a Z and not the S. And it's a very, you know, funny scene. It's playing out the sarcasm, the typical Marvel humor, you know what I mean? And then from there, we hear two pieces of dialogue from Yelena, and then that dynamic between Bucky and Yelena, and how she says something along the lines of, there's these space issues that are happening. And then there's this whole joke with John Walker saying, oh, we're running out of space, you know, and it's not, it's up in the sky space, right? And so for me, that's directly, to me, it seems like there's got to be an incursion that's occurring. There's got to be the final steps for Doomsday and the final steps for Secret Wars to be coming in, where we're seeing now the two universes are starting to collide. Now, what universe it is, I have my theories, and I'm going to tell you guys later on in the video. But then we get to the second piece of the whole entire scene, and that's where they hear a spaceship or an unidentified aircraft is coming into their atmosphere, and then from there they put a satellite image on it, and then we get to see the actual ship itself, and it's the Fantastic Four, right? And it's such an exciting scene, because we know that it's finally, you know, they're leading up to everything. It's kind of got that that pre-Endgame feel to it, where everything was kind of leading up to it, and now we know that, hey, after Thunderbolts, bam, we got Fantastic Four. Now, I did see some things on it, and I do want to preface this by saying a lot of my ideas come from my own theories, and a lot of it also come from what I read online. And so one of these theories that I'm seeing with this whole entire thing is going on with the whole entire incursion stuff, right? And the whole entire premise of Doomsday. Now, my whole theory of the whole entire thing, which I think that a lot of people have been too, is maybe seeing this being Avengers versus X-Men. Now, it's one of the more popular comic book storylines of the past decade, and it's one of the best comic book storylines ever that I've ever read. As someone who reads the comics and kind of likes to keep up to date with them, Avengers vs. X-Men is one of my favorite storylines. We're seeing this power dynamic between the Avengers versus the X-Men, and how there's the whole preface of the Phoenix. Now, again, that's probably not going to be an element of the story. It's going to be specifically tailored to Doom, right? And it's because it's Doomsday, right? So when we look at Avengers versus X-Men, I think it's going to be on a premise of the fact that we have the Avengers on our world and we have the X-Men of the Incursion world. Now, where's the Incursion world? Now, I do want to preface this there, and I want to give a shout out to Heavy Spoilers, because this was something that they came up with, especially Mastertainment. The whole idea, right, is thinking that the Avengers world is the 616, right? That's our universe. That's the universe that we've been, we've been watching this whole entire time. But then we have the X-Men's. And my theory is, if you haven't seen the Marvels, this is going to be a spoiler for that movie, but again, this is a spoiler talk video. The Marvels itself has another world in it. We see that Photon gets trapped, or Spectrum, whichever one it is. We see that she gets trapped in another dimension. We get to see another universe, right? And then she meets her mom again, and then she sees Kelsey Grammer's Beast, right? And that was such a, that movie, for what it's worth, that movie's very fun. Not the greatest, but again, that whole scene it's incredible, because we're seeing how that world is a world with X-Men, because we know that they're in the X-Mansion. And on top of that too, we also know that Professor Xavier is also on that, in that world as well, because he does mention we have to give an update to Charles. And so there's also the idea that Binary is there as well. So again, this seems to be a world primarily with X-Men. There's more mutants than there are Avengers. Now, are there probably others? Maybe, we'll see. But I do want to say this. When you look at something like Avengers versus X-Men and what they're going to want to do, there's clearly going to be this power struggle between both sides, right? One's going to think that they're right against the other. And then it's going to be a pitted between, because again, incursions are when two universes are colliding together. And the only way to stop an incursion is the other planet has to destroy the other planet. So someone has to die. And I think with everything that we've been seeing of the Multiverse Saga, despite the fact of its flaws and everything that's been going on, I do think that it's been setting up this whole entire premise of how we look at superheroes, and the idea of that maybe not a lot of us see them as these greatest heroes alive. Maybe a lot of us have problems with seeing them, and a lot of problems seeing how come we can't control them, or how come they have to be involved in the first place. And there's this dynamic of that. So when you look at the mutants now coming into it, I think that we're going to see this power struggle between both the at 616 and whatever universe that X-Men on, that Photon's on with Beast. I think, to me personally, that has to be maybe the 838. Now, my running theory, because it is the 838, is the only other universe that we've seen with Binary or Lashana Lynch as Captain Marvel is the 838, and that's a universe that Stephen Strange went to visit in Multiverse of Madness. Now, when you look at that movie again, there was the whole entire Illuminati storyline that Wanda went and killed them all. Again, I do understand that. And we did see a Professor Xavier on there. And it was the one from, the X-Men 97. You hear the theme, and then you see the yellow chair, and it's awesome, right? Everyone goes crazy for it. So when you look at that scene, right, that's the only time we ever get to see again Professor Xavier in that role. And we do know that Patrick Stewart is coming back to play Professor Xavier. Now, we've seen how Professor Xavier has died in a lot of X-Men movies. If you go back and watch, depending on my age audience, in the original X-Men movie, Professor Xavier was constantly dying. But what was cool about him is that he's one of the more powerful mutants of the Marvel, in the Marvel universe, and he's able to transfer his consciousness between bodies. And so when I look at that, I'm thinking that maybe in this case, while he did die in that movie, and Scarlet Witch broke his neck, whatever, maybe there was a chance that he did survive. Maybe there's a chance that he was able to, transfer his consciousness. Maybe there was a contingency plan. Who knows? And maybe that's why there's going to be this power dynamic and this power struggle between both the Avengers versus X-Men, because we've seen how there's been other superheroes that have gone to their world and have done wrong, have done things that have brought destruction to their world, have only brought calamity to their world. Strange brought himself to that world with America Chavez, and in that same realm, he brought the Scarlet Witch. And the Scarlet Witch went and killed the entire Illuminati. So again, I think there's going to be a problem with them. And then on top of that, my other theory runs to Binary, which is Lashana Lynch. We saw that she fought Scarlet Witch. We saw that there was this great fight between them. We know that both Captain Marvel and Scarlet Witch are one of the two most powerful superheroes in the Marvel universe. And to see their power dynamic and see that only Lashana Lynch was crushed, right? We know that was pretty fairly easy. But again, we see an arm fall down, and that's kind of just what we see. We don't see after that. I get that we see the body and it looks like she may have died, but again, this is Captain Marvel. She fought Thanos. She got Falcon punched by Thanos in Endgame. I think there's a possibility, and again, I could be wrong, but I think there could be a possibility that Lashana Lynch did survive that, and maybe her powers brought her back some way, and there was a capacity where maybe her powers were amplified, because Binary is a more powerful amplification of the Captain Marvel whole entire superpower set. So there is a possibility that she could have been supplanted, and maybe she could have been, transformed into Binary. Now, from there, to talk about from there, and I know I just spewed a lot of mumbo jumbo there, but again, I do want to reiterate that the whole entire premise of Doomsday is going to be around Doom and what his plans are. Now, we do know that Doom is going to be played by Robert Downey Jr., and we do know that this is going to be Victor Von Doom. We know that this is not going to be a Tony Stark variant. This is Victor Von Doom. And so when we look at that, we have to remember that Victor Von Doom is a very cunning. He's just as smart as Reed Richards, and we know that he's going to be playing a part in trying to bring together or put together the universe in his image to then bring about Secret Wars. Now, I don't know how we're going to get there, but there could be a case where Doom is the one pulling the strings and the one that's putting the Avengers and the X-Men to pit against each other and fight against each other, so that then he can come together. The universes collapse on each other, and then he can put together and create Battle World, which will be Secret Wars. Now, when we look at the second part of that whole entire post-credit scene from Thunderbolts, we look at the Fantastic Four, and I'm super excited for it. I think that that's going to be probably the best project since Endgame. I'm super excited. Finally, as someone that's been following Marvel superheroes since I was born, basically, to see finally a Fantastic Four team that looks competent, looks great. The filming, the direction, the art style, everything about it looks perfect. To see Galactus actually be Galactus and not just a giant cloud, it's something that I don't think that now a lot of Marvel fans that are younger and everything, they're going to get to see a good Fantastic Four movie. They had the past, and people of their parents and their siblings can tell them that, hey, this was the Fantastic Four that we had. And it's just been kind of mid. I would say that the Ian Grufford and the Chris Evans era and the Jessica Alba and I'm forgetting the actor's name, but that era of the Fantastic Four, while it has its campiness and it's, again, I say a lot of comic bookness to it, the jokiness and everything of the early 2000s, it just isn't Fantastic Four. It isn't what I envision the Fantastic Four to be. There's a lot of dynamics and it's seen, but a lot of it is corny, especially with Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom isn't done well at all. They kind of make him into a joke even. And so to see him how he's going to be now, I can't wait to see how that's going to be. So going into the Fantastic Four and seeing how their universe, we already know, is going to be separate from ours, but they are the original Fantastic Four from the 616 and just got lost. It's going to be to see now how they make it back and what's going to happen on their universe. Because to me, I think that we're going along the lines that they're going to lose. Galactus is going to win. I think that Galactus is going to eat and destroy and completely wipe out their universe. And I think that it's going to go on a level of the fact that Galactus is not just we know that Galactus is a celestial, and we know that he's not really, I don't consider him to be like a villain per se. Like he's killing and he's doing things that are very villain-esque, but again, he's just doing what he was created to do, which is to bring balance and consume and eat other planets, because that's what he does. It's the nature of what he does. That's who Galactus is. But when we look at Galactus in this, I don't think he's just a planet eater. I think that he's going to bring a destruction to the entire universe. I don't think he's just going to bring destruction to that one. I think he's that big of a threat that he is going to bring destruction to the universe. And so when we look at now Reed Richards and what he's studying, we see that there's this dynamic, and almost kind of like from I would look at both trailers, right? And the first trailer for Fantastic Four was very in the esque of like the Superman trailer. It was very high levels of energy, very optimistic. It was super high energy, and when we were seeing, like, we were excited. We saw how the Fantastic Four were going to be finally a team and how their power sets were going to look, and we got to see the reveal of the Thing and everything. Everyone got super excited about it. Then we got the second trailer, and the second trailer brought like this almost like, not, I think like more of like a stressful type thing. I don't know how a good word for it, but it almost brought a different type of level of anxiety and stress to it, because the music was different. The whole entire vibe of the entire trailer felt very different, because again, you're feeling the heaviness and the threat that is coming. And I feel like we're going to see, and we're going to go down the lines where the Fantastic Four are going to lose. And we're going to see how they're going to leave their universe. They're going to have to leave in order to survive. And they're going to know, I think they're going to know something that they have to then, they find a way to get back to our universe, and they have to warn our universe that something is coming. So when we look at this, right, and we're seeing the Fantastic Four ship that's coming in from space, I want everyone to go back, if they can, watch Thunderbolts again. I would go watch it again. Great movie, whatever. But if you go back and watch the trailer, right, and you go back and watch Thunderbolts, look at the two ships, and then if you look at one of the ships, right, in the trailer, I'll put it up on the video for you guys to see. If you look at the trailer and you look at the Fantastic Four trailer, there's a part in it where you're seeing like a planet being like kind of like combusting and being destroyed, and you can see the Fantastic Four ship in the scene. And in that scene, you can see the ship, and it has 3 fins, right? You can see 1, 2 on the ship. On the back end, you can see the 3 fins. In the Thunderbolts trailer, or not in Thunderbolts, in the Thunderbolts post-credit scene, you can see 4. So clearly this is different. This is a different ship. So we're seeing 2 different things. So again, I want to reiterate, there's got to be something in between that. We're seeing something different along the lines of the Thunderbolts and the Fantastic Four. So clearly there's going to be some sort of shift here. I don't think that in that, picture that we're seeing, I don't think in the trailer of Fantastic Four, I don't think that that's our Earth. I think that's got to be theirs. They're seeing the destruction of their entire universe. I think they're seeing the destruction of Earth, and the fact that they lost, and they're not gonna win. And so now they have to go and warn ours and find a way how to get here so that they can warn us that something is coming. And then this is where I believe Doom comes into play. I want to put it with, I don't want to put it again with 100% certainty, but I do want to reiterate that we're finally entering into the end of the Multiverse Saga. I want everyone to know that this is it. We're in the, out for lack of a better word, we're in the end game. And so when we go and look at the next movie up after Fantastic Four, it's gonna be Doomsday. Doomsday is the next thing, and we know that it's going to be high level, high stakes. It's the end of the Multiverse Saga. I know they want to fast track and get this done, but now that we have that, they have to set up Doom. We got the setup to Fantastic Four. We're hearing that incursions are happening. We're hearing that threats are happening to the whole entire multiverse. Now what do we see with Doom? And I think Doom is going to make a big threat. He's going to put himself into that move. I think that the Russo brothers or Shackman that is directing Fantastic Four, I think we're going to see them involve Doom in some capacity. I want to say, I was telling my little brother about this the other day. Shout out Miles. I was telling my little brother the other day that with the Fantastic Four happening, I think there's going to be a big, like 100% certainty that Doom is going to be in a post-credit scene. I think that he's going to be heavily involved with it. They have to show him off. They have to show him because they have to set up Doomsday because that's the next movie. But I think there's a possibility that he could be involved more. I think there's a possibility that he could be involved with the story of Fantastic Four, and he could be involved in some capacity. Not saying that he's going to be a villain in the whole entire movie, but maybe like a 5-minute, 10-minute little scene setting up the whole entire premise of Doomsday, seeing how maybe they have an interaction, that the Doom that we're going to see is the one that we're going to see in Doomsday. Who knows? I think there's a level because we know that Doom, and if anyone hasn't read the comics or just knows Dr. Doom is one of the greatest Marvel, if not the greatest Marvel villain of all time. We know that he isn't just going to let himself die if he doesn't have the if he doesn't need to. So Doom is on an intellect level, again, as just as much as Reed Richards. There's a possibility that Doom could also leave this planet. Leave the planet that he's on before he dies and go into that whole entire separate universe with the Fantastic Four, or possibly a different one, and start conquering, start doing. Maybe there's a possibility that they show him go into the Council of Kings and completely wipe out the entire King and take their powers to start pulling out the multiverse. Maybe there's a possibility that we see him go on other universes and start finding out the expansive multiverse and seeing that it needs correction. It needs to be changed. There's too many branching timelines. And he starts pruning and he starts doing the destruction and starts bringing an end to it. And then we're going to see how Loki gets involved in Doomsday. I think there's a possibility that Doom is going to be in this thing. I don't think that there's a shadow of a doubt within myself that we don't see Doom. Now, again, temper your expectations. I'm not an insider. I don't know. But I would love to be right on this one. And I would love to see how Marvel's going to treat this later on. And then I want to reiterate too, after that, right? With the whole entire dynamic of Doom and everything else, how do they involve Sentry into this? Because we know that Thunderbolts is going to be involved in Doomsday heavily. They're all in the movie. So I'm going to guess Doom is going to be something using the Void in this movie, because we know that the Void was such a big threat to the entire world itself. It could bring the end of the world. I mean, you saw what it was doing. He was literally turning people into shadows, like just making them drop within themselves and not, for lack of a better word, just kill them. And that's something that Doom could harness and almost use as a threat, using this as a, hey, if you don't do my bidding, I will release the Void. And so, again, I just want to I think that there's going to be a lot of moving pieces with this moving forward, and I can't wait to see how Marvel treats it. I think that, again, we finally have a direction. We know where the story is going, and we know how the story is going to end. In a way, I think we know how this is going to go in leading up to Doomsday. So with that being said, I think that there's a lot to be excited for. Like I said, Thunderbolts is, again, one of the best Marvel movie projects that they've done for years. I think that, again, I'm not someone that thinks that Marvel hasn't been dead. I think Marvel has been just as alive as anything else. Have other projects been hit or miss? Absolutely. Just like anything else. It's easy to say something's been gone or bad when you have a couple of misses, when we've had such high expectations for these movies. And so we're always constantly fighting on if it's been good or if he's been bad, whatever. And you can never please everyone. As someone, to me, I don't think Marvel's ever been bad. I think Marvel has always been great. But on this level, they absolutely cooked. And I cannot wait to see where this leads up to when we look at Fantastic Four. With that being said, thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all checking out. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, hit a like on it. It gets the video out there and makes my channel more, popular. And again, I thank you all for having the time to check out my video. It's been great. It's been wonderful. God loves you, and God is always with you guys. All right. Remember, God made you special, and He loves you very much. We'll catch you on the next video.